and welcome to The View from 4 Feet and 3 Inches. I'm your host, Cassidy Huff, and today I am wearing a black tank top. My hair is getting way too long. Oh, I'm a white woman, by the way. My hair is getting way too long. It is a brownish, blondish color. Now I really need to get it done, and it is about past shoulder length now. And we are sitting on a gray couch with a white blanket in the back. And our cat is currently running across the back of the couch, so that's great. There is a bookshelf behind me, and there's also directly behind me there's a green pillow and there's a gold pillow. And we have a guest on our show today.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Kaz. I'm the boyfriend.
If you're wondering why we are sitting so far away from each other, it is not because we're fighting. It is because now we officially have two mics. So we can, we need multiple cameras is what this really means. But we now have two mics, which is easier for me when I have guests that aren't Kaz on. But you have no idea how long it took us to record today because we have spent so long trying to figure out how to record with two mics and one computer, and we finally figured it out. So, yay. You need to do your visual description.
Yeah, I was about to do that.
Sorry.
I'm an Asian man with black hair, and I'm wearing a green Coca-Cola shirt that has the bottle history of what Coca-Cola has been manufactured in. And our cat Monty is currently trying to climb on Cassidy's shoulders.
He's trying to eat my hair is what's happening. Anyways, so today we are going to be talking about Disney. More importantly, the Disney Accessibility Service, otherwise known as DAS, and our experience with it previously, as well as our experience with it this last weekend. So, I think for viewers who don't, or for listeners who don't know what DAS is, would you like to explain what it is and how it's benefited us in the past?
DAS is I don't know.
An accessibility service.
Well, I guess you should just do it.
Okay.
Because I don't want to.
I feel like I talk too much. So DAS is basically an accessibility service when you go to one of the Disney parks. To all of the Disney parks. He's fine here. To all of the Disney parks. And it allows you, it kind of works like a lightning lane, if anybody knows what that is. It allows you to basically virtually through the app reserve, like say we want to go on Space Mountain next. Okay, well we can hold our place in a virtual line so that I don't have to go with my wheelchair and all my other mobility aids. I don't have to go physically wait in line. And this was really helpful for me because mainly I have temperature regulation issues. And so if I'm in really hot temperatures, then I get very hot very easily. Even if it's not like that hot outside, I still get very hot very easily. I also get very cold very easily. And then going from the outside, which is usually very warm in Southern California, to the inside, which is usually very cold and air conditioned in a very quick amount of time, takes a toll on my body, and it just makes it very confused. I also am very prone to nausea because of this and migraines, and so waiting in lines is just not a fun time for me. So I have qualified for the Disability Access Service for probably the last 7 or 8 years at this point, and I've used it every time we go to the parks. We go to the parks quite a bit because if you watch my vlogs on YouTube, you know that Kaz's sister works for Disney, and so we get cast member comp tickets all the time, which means that we get into the parks for free, which is great because we live super close and it's just really easy and we love going to the parks. So when I heard that the DAS rules were changing, I wasn't that concerned because I was like, well, I look disabled and I've used DAS for literally ever, so they're just gonna approve me. That was not the case. The first time it was the case. The new rules went into effect on June 19th. Or sorry, June 18th. We went to the park on June 19th. I called you have to like wait in a virtual queue basically now. I called to talk to a cast member virtually, and I was approved because it was before the new rules went into effect. This last time we went, which was a week ago, I was not approved, and it was very interesting.
I thought it was kind of disheartening.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what happened?
Well, we got to the park and we went to the DAS services area. They have like you have to do it outside of the parks now. Mm-hmm. So we were planning on getting the service first before we went into the park. However, we were unaware that we didn't have the tickets because we had a reservation with my sister instead of the physical tickets. And so when we got to the actual when we actually got to speak to a cast member, they were like, "Where are your tickets?" And we were like, "Oh, here's our cast member." They're like, "No, like, where are the tickets though?" And we were like, "Oh, okay, so we need to enter the park." And they were like, "Yeah." And so we asked them like, "Oh, could we come back really fast and grab the tickets and then come back and figure this out?"
Skip the line, basically. That's what we wanted to do because we had been waiting in the physical line
for about like 25 minutes.
Yeah, and I, prior to that, tried to speak with a cast member virtually on the website in the virtual queue. And I waited for 6 hours the first day and then another hour and a half the second day I tried. And I didn't talk to anybody. And so they were saying, the people in the park, the cast members in the park, were saying to go get the tickets, go into the park, and then enter the virtual queue again, which I just spent the last 2 days waiting in, basically. And then they ask you a question like, "Are you in the parks?" And you're supposed to say yes because we were in the parks. And apparently that bumped you up to the top of the line, and you talk to a cast member within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to pick it up?
So they told us to join the virtual queue instead, so we wouldn't have to wait in the physical line. And then we were waiting, and then they said that you needed to be, what was it, like in the...
Yeah, they were like, "What date are you coming to the parks?" So I didn't put like 08/17/2024. I just said today because a computer doesn't read it, the cast member does. So I spelled out the word TODAY today. And after 15-ish minutes of waiting, I get an automated message, or I get a message from a cast member actually saying, "Oh, sorry, you can't, we only assist with pre-registration, and please contact us closer to your arrival time or closer to your reservation time in the parks."
Visit.
Yeah, my visit to the parks. And then they closed the chat. They closed it down completely.
Yeah.
You were upset.
I was very upset. I thought it was like really... I don't know what to say. I thought it was just really stupid.
I agree. And so we were like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So we had to go up all the way back outside of the park. and stand in. We once again asked, because there were new cast members leading the line, so we asked again if we could possibly skip the line because we were just in line and speak to a cast member that way. We told them what happened with the virtual queue. They said, nope, you have to wait in line again. So we got back in the physical line. At this point, we had
waited for another 20 minutes.
At this point, we had been at the park for 2 hours.
Yeah.
About 2 hours. It was ridiculous. So we finally get up there, and we finally talk to a cast member, and this is the part of the story that really irritates Cass.
They were directing us to one of the cast members to talk to, and he was like, oh yeah, you'll love him. He's one of our best DAS services cast members or whatever he's called. And he was talking to us, and in the little windows, it's very difficult to see.
They're also high.
Yeah, they're high up for an able-bodied person. The windows were tinted, and you could basically only see your reflection unless you got really close to the windows to see the actual cast member inside of the little building that they have out there. It's because they're little ticket booths, but they repurpose them because you don't really buy tickets there usually anymore. So the DAS services is on one side, and then the ticket booths are on the other side. But that's besides the point. The cast member was speaking very quietly because they don't have any microphones that in the movie theater ticket booths where the microphones are
amplify.
Yeah, they amplify the voice or whatever. So they didn't have those, so he was just talking really quietly, and I was like, can you speak up? She's deaf. And he's like, oh, I can come out there if it makes it easier. And I was like, yeah, do that. So he comes out, and he's talking about he was asking who's it for, and it's obviously for Cassidy. So we were like, oh, it's for her. And he's like, okay, so can we have a conversation? That's what both of the cast members actually said, is can we have a conversation, or we can't continue the conversation. The first cast member, we were recording
for B-roll for my short form content.
And so she was saying oh, I noticed you were recording. We can't continue to have a conversation. Again, the vocabulary of conversation. We will talk about that later, about why they probably use the word conversation. We can't continue having a conversation until you stop recording. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll stop recording. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The cast member was asking you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, so the cast member was basically asking me why I would need, or why I would benefit from DAS. I explained the whole situation. I am very independent, I would say. I'm also very good at advocating for myself. So
you're very cognitively developed.
Thank you. Yes. I'm very cognitively developed. So I speak for myself. And if anybody else speaks for me, I get kind of upset because, I don't know, it's probably some past trauma that I'm dealing with. But I like to speak for myself. And so I was explaining why I've benefited from DAS in the past, why it's really been helpful for me. And they basically told me, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I heard it wrong, but what this cast member basically said was that I was being denied the service that I've qualified for years because I'm not autistic.
And don't have a developmental disability.
Yes.
Or something of the like.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have physical disabilities that are not developmental or similar similarly characterized closely to autism.
Right.
Yeah.
And even after I explained my sensory issues, my temperature dysregulation, it didn't matter. It was very clear that I wasn't.
Well, you also explained that you were deafblind, and that I was also trying to just like really push the sensory overload situation. Just telling them that you telling them that you get overwhelmed if it's dark, like too dark, or hold on, let me gather my words. You get very overwhelmed when it's too dark and loud, and it's when it's difficult for you to see or something, or when you don't know what's being said to you, you get very anxious, and it could, overwhelm you.
Yeah. And so Kaz was trying to push on that front. And
Because I was trying to, like, I knew what he was looking for.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we got denied. That's the point. We got denied. And after we got denied, Kaz was very upset. He's been very upset all week, actually. I a little bit, but he mainly has been doing like a deep dive on other people's experiences, on the new DAS rules as a whole. And the cast member we talked to was very kind. I was not upset at him because I knew that this person was just trying to do their job,
He gave us 3 lightning lanes.
which was very kind.
Yeah. I feel like that's protocol, though.
I agree. I was not angry at him because I understand that he's just doing his job. He's working for a big corporation, and that's really where the issue lies, right? Is most likely a bunch of non-disabled people are trying to decide what's best for disabled people. And they think they're helping, probably, but they're not in all reality. And so this cast member was explaining all of the other accommodations and the other options that we had, and like first aid,
Return to queue, which is basically like DAS.
but you have to go to the individual attraction.
Yes.
You can't book via the
app.
app.
Yeah. And some of the cast members I've been reading don't even know that that's an option,
Which is a problem.
which is interesting.
I agree.
Or I don't know. I don't know if they don't know if it's an option, or if they're just, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I just think the whole thing is very interesting. I made a video about it. It got a little bit of traction. We have both since joined the Disney DAS Defenders group, which, fun fact, was actually started by my neighbor, neighbor.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, yes. It's called Disney DAS Defenders on Facebook, where basically people share the same experiences of them being denied. Some of them are horrible. Most of them are horrible. Like somebody with stage 4 cancer
Yeah.
was denied DAS.
I've heard people with narcolepsy, with epilepsy, people with veterans, actually, with PTSD, people with service dogs for POTS.
Or
All
cardiac
kinds of-
alert.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
It's truly astounding the amount of people that have very similar stories to us. And because I had heard a few of those stories before our experience, I kind of knew that I was going to get denied. Kaz can vouch. I was very anxious about being denied because I was like, what are we going to do? Like, I've never gone to the parks without DAS, because before DAS, there was another similar disability program, I think. Somebody in the comments is probably going to correct me, but which is fine, please do. But there was some kind of similar disability program where it was kind of the same thing. If you had a physical disability, you would just automatically go to the front of the lines, I think. This DAS is not that. You still have to wait for the same amount of time that everybody else is waiting, except you don't wait in the physical line. You can wait anywhere else in the park. So that's why it was really helpful for me, was because if we wanted to do like Radiator Springs Racers, that whole queue is outside. So I could go wait in a cafe somewhere, in DCA, and be in an air-conditioned spot, or be under the misters somewhere, and be in the shade somewhere, and be able to regulate my body temperature, be able to get in and out of my chair as I please, and am not like crowded by other people where it's making my temperature regulation worse. I'm not in the sun, things like that. So DAS was really essential to my park going experience, and because I didn't have DAS this time, we really didn't do a whole lot.
No, we didn't.
We really didn't do much, and that's really unfortunate.
We went on one other ride, in addition to the lightning lanes that we used.
And for me, at Disneyland, because that's where we go to Disneyland. It's not, I mean, it's a big issue. Like, it definitely had a big impact on our trip. However, I've experienced Disneyland before, right? So I kind of know what to expect. What I would be really concerned about is if we had a trip planned to Disney World, because that's a much bigger environment. That's a completely unknown environment for us, because we've never been.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I would do that without DAS. So
yeah, especially in the Florida heat.
Exactly, and the humidity. Exactly.
Way different than California.
So I can't imagine some of these parents that are anxious out of their minds because they've already booked trips and have had these planned for some of them years for their kids, and now DAS isn't a thing that they can get for themselves or their child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's horrible. So why don't you explain your theory as to why you think we got denied? And keep in mind, this is a theory. This is not backed up by facts in any way, shape, or form. And we do not speak for the brand of the company. Thank you.
Many people also think this, however, on the Facebook groups that I've been reading, a lot of people were saying that my 7-year-old got access to the pass, but my 19-year-old got denied. And yet they still have very similar experiences with autism. And they have the same, what's it called?
Diagnosis.
No, not diagnosis. They have the same,
Traits?
Yeah, like autistic traits, and that like how they get overwhelmed and overstimulated and stuff. They will behave very similarly, and they were saying, oh, I think it's because my 19-year-old had the ability of the understanding of a line and like what a line was, or he could cognitively hold a conversation, stuff like that. And so what I think is that a lot of people who might get denied are people who advocate and talk to the cast member themselves.
I have yet to hear a story from someone who is disabled themselves and has talked to a cast member and explained why they would benefit from DAS. I have yet to see them approved.
I've read of people who've been approved.
Really?
Yes, on the pages.
Mm-hmm. But how did they get? What was the language they used? Do you know?
I think they were just talking about, I think it was someone with POTS or epilepsy, and they were telling the cast member that if they fainted, that everyone else in the line would be affected. And they would be freaking out. It's not about them, though, in that sense.
No, it's about other people. Here's my theory. I think, and I said this in my TikTok and it made a lot of people angry. I'll say it again. I think that let me rephrase. I think that cast members deny people with autism who they think will be societally disruptive to other park goers, to other visitors,
Guests.
to other guests. Thank you.
Disneyland calls them guests.
Yeah. I think that they see that as a potential disruption for other guests. And so they're like, oh, nope, take that kid away. Take that person away. Make them go somewhere else that's not in a line. But like the physically disabled people, yeah, they can stay in there. They're fine. So it is really, I
feel like people who are like, I know disability is a spectrum, are in for a lack of a better word, an eyesore. Like people are naturally uncomfortable with disabilities, and people who are quote unquote not able-bodied enough to be perceived like able-bodied people, maybe people with disabilities that drool or something, I bet they would give them access to DAS because they don't want them drooling on people because they're so in close proximity.
right.
And we ran into this one little kid.
Oh my God, this one little boy.
He was extremely touchy, which was fine with us. But he would be touching everyone.
Yeah.
And he would be bouncing around the walls and like swinging on the ropes and all the other stuff. He was just curious, though.
I do want to tell this story because it was literally the highlight of my whole trip at Disney this time. So it was, like 10 p.m.?
It gave you baby fever.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 10 p.m., I think, and we were in the line for Jungle Cruise. We did not ask to even enter the inaccessible queue. I don't know what to call it, like the regular queue.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because the regular queue isn't accessible. Yeah, there's stairs. Yeah. So I'm not about to, climb the stairs in my chair. And so we just automatically went to the queue that we knew was accessible, and they didn't even check to see if we had to ask. They didn't care. So
they checked the family in front of us with the kid.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
I think they thought we were all one party. I'm pretty sure. I have no idea. But this child made my whole day. So we get in line behind this family, and there's this little boy who we found out was 3, and he is fascinated by me. Like, fascinated. Would not take his eyes off me. And he was really fascinated with my prosthesis. If you don't know what my prosthesis looks like, it basically looks like I have 3 feet. I'm not kidding. It is a foot-on-foot orthotic prosthesis. Go watch my videos if you need more clarification. But it's interesting, especially to small children. And so he was little enough to where I wasn't going to be like, hey, stop staring. He was very small.
He was on the ground. He was like 3 inches away.
Yes.
Nose to toes.
Yes.
It was crazy.
He was on, face pressed to the ground, fascinated by my shoe. And so his dad was like, buddy, let's not do. I was like, hi. And he had a giant Stitch, like from Lilo and Stitch, that he was holding. It was like a plushie, and he was holding it, and he was like swinging it around. And so his dad was like, "Hey, dude, let's not swing that around," you know. And I was like, "Hi, bud. I love your Stitch." And he was like, "Yeah, I just got it today." And I was like, "Yeah, that's so cool." And so we're talking to him, and he's very interested in having a conversation with us. He was not shy. He didn't do the whole like run behind dad thing. No, he was very like, "What's your name? And what's your favorite ride?" So I asked him, I was like, "What's your favorite ride?" And he was like, "The Jungle Cruise." And I was like, "Oh, what animals do you like to see on the Jungle Cruise?" And he was like, "I like the tigers." "What animals do you like to see on the Jungle Cruise?" So I said, "I like the piranhas because they spit water at you, you know." And then he starts going down the line of people that are in our party. It was me, Kaz's sister, and Kaz's mom. And he starts going down the line. "What's your favorite animal to see on the Jungle Cruise?" And so everybody answers. And then he comes back to me, and he just slowly starts to like grow really close to me and like latch onto me physically, not emotionally,
Very,
physically.
yeah, very touchy.
Very touchy. It was the cutest thing, but he was so gentle about it. He was very gentle, and he was very nice, and he like started on my arm and then he like worked his way up my shoulder, and he really liked my hair because it was in a braid. And because Kaz's sister likes to braid my hair, so she braided my hair that day. And he was like, "I love your hair." And I was like, "Thank you." And he goes, "You look like Princess Elsa." And I was like, "Oh, well, that is the best compliment I think I've ever gotten in my entire life." And so we, keep talking to him, and he was very fascinated by my earrings. He was like, "What are these?" And so I was like, "Oh, those are earrings. Those are jewelry, you know." And I was I was pointing out somebody in front of us who also had a wheelchair, and they had light up spokes. And so I was like, "Aren't those so cool? They light up, they're different colors." And he was like, "Yeah, those are really cool." And I was like, "I want to get some for my chair." And he was like, "Yeah, that would be really cool." And I was like, "I know." And so then I was like, "Do you know what color my chair is?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's blue." And I was like, "Great job." This kid was like, we found out his name was Evan, and we found out he was 3, and he was the most talkative 3-year-old who had so many sentences and so many words. He was the best. And he was the most adorable child I think I've ever seen, ever. And so his mom finally like turns around and sees her small child who's like basically in this random woman's lap, right? And and so she was like, "Hey buddy, like let's not, Evan, what are we doing?" And like pulled him away. And I really wanted, if we hadn't been pulled out of line to go on the ride at that point, I would have taken this time to like educate his mom a little bit, because he was the sweetest, kindest child I have ever met. And his dad explained that he had a sensory disability, and he had some sensory processing issues and different things like that. And so he really liked to touch. And so I was gonna, take this time to like explain to his mom that like, yeah, it is okay to I understand you don't want your small child to be like touching every stranger he sees. However, it is okay to let him express himself. And by pulling him away so soon, and by making it seem like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" It, in my opinion, I feel like that would be teaching him to suppress his disability, And I understand there is a level of safety that like needs to be talked about, and that he needs to understand, because stranger danger, obviously. Luckily, we're us; we didn't really care, but. And also, I have a lot of experience with children, and a lot of experience with disabled children and autistic children, and so I was very used to the whole interaction, and I could see how it would be a problem if somebody wasn't used to that kind of interaction and it really caught them off guard. I can totally see that, but at the same time, I would have really loved to tell that mom, like, "You have the sweetest, kindest, most polite child I've ever encountered, and don't suppress his disability. Like, let him be who he is, within reason, within safety, but let him be who he is. Like, he was just so sweet, and he had so much knowledge, and he was so smart. And even from like what our 10-ish minute conversation with him, he was just so curious, and it really like almost taught me a lesson really about how normal disability is if you teach a child that young. Because once I was pointing out other people's mobility aids and being like, oh my gosh, isn't that so cool, he was like, yeah, that is so cool. And I was like, I know. And it was like disability was completely normal to him. And so if you teach your children young, they will just normalize disability. So it was a great lesson for me, and I really wish I could talk to that mom and those parents and tell them what a great job they're doing as parents. And if you know Evan's parents,
Evan's parents from Jungle Cruise line.
We have no idea where they live. We have no idea who they are.
We only talked to Evan.
We only talked to Evan with his parents' supervision, obviously. We don't know the parents' names. And
Evan thinks that your name is Elsa.
Evan thinks that my name is Elsa. His mom turned around. He was like, do you know what her name is?
Yeah,
and
what's
he
your
goes,
new friend's name?
Yeah, what's your new friend's name? And he goes, Elsa. So, to Evan's parents, who now don't know what my name is, thinks I'm Elsa. And, you know, you were in line at the Jungle Cruise at about 10 p.m. on the, what was that, 17th?
Yeah.
17th of August of this year, a week ago. Please DM me. Anyways, that was really all I had to say about that interaction, but it taught me a lot, and I hope that it taught his parents a bit too, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about Das? I personally think that, you know, we had that amazing story with the small child, Evan. And we didn't let it ruin our trip, I don't think, the whole Das experience. However, I think you put it best when you said it was really disheartening.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate that they're making it inaccessible to a lot of people. And I know people with autism who were still denied.
Yeah, because they look neurotypical.
Yeah, they're not autistic enough, basically.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. So, we will be going to Universal soon, and hopefully we have a better experience there. We will keep you updated.
We'll see how the going through the third party goes.
Third party?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
There's a third party thingy that you have to sign up for, and then you upload it to a thing, and then Universal gives you it through that. So you prove your disability that way.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Interesting. Will I ever not have to prove my disability? That's the question that we should be asking. Probably not. Anyways, I think that is the end of our story, unless you have anything else to add. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching and listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, give me a 5-star rating depending on where you're listening. Follow me on all my platforms. I have a podcast coming out every single Sunday. I have a podcast episode, let me rephrase, coming out every single Sunday. I usually have a YouTube vlog coming out every Wednesday, and then I make short form content every single day on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So make sure you go check that out. Follow me on all of the platforms. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.